just came late. Look at all this. What are we gonna do with all this?
What we got?
Goodies. Somebody sent us a bunch of stuff.
That looks like stuff that would excite Jeff. Let's see what we got. Set this down.
Dude, we have gloves for the rest of our life. Look, death wheels for days.
Finally some gloves that fit me.
Oh, look. Death wheels. Look at this. Look at this stack of death wheels.
Freaking gas masks.
Didn't you just run out of those too?
What? Oh, come on. Those are the big ones. These I was out of, and Harbor Freight was out of too. These are 6-inch. So.
That's good stuff. I'm not supposed to say the person that gave him this, but I know he's going to watch this. Thank you so much. This is freaking awesome. This is the first time anybody's like sent us stuff. Like my dad gets stuff all the time, but nobody sends us anything. Not that you should. Don't send us stuff. But that's awesome. This is going to help us a lot.
Look, respirator. Look at the gloves. Ooh. You can always use.
This is.
Oh.
Zip ties. You never have.
Never. Oh, safety glasses.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Tinted. Nice. Yeah, I do.
Nice.
Don't want people to get the wrong idea. Don't send stuff. Nobody has our address, so we shouldn't get stuff. I don't know how that guy sent us anything.
This. All right, so I saw in the comments, if you guys noticed, someone noticed that if you remember a couple videos ago, there was a big hole here. And on these cars, they get some really weird rust that happens back here. Even though this was a California car, I think it's more where rainwater gathers over the years, and I don't know, there's some weird stuff that happens back here on these cars because there were several rust spots around here. But anyway, a couple videos, there was a really big hole here, and someone made a comment that it was gone in the last video that we did the
Wiring.
The wiring, yeah, the wiring. So let's go over here. Look. So essentially what happens on these cars, for whatever reason, this is a weird spot that rusts. And this was really thin, and when we got the car, I actually put some body filler in there just to fill the hole up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show people how to actually fill this with metal instead of body filler. And when I'm done with this will be as solid as a brand new fender on here. So it's kind of a slow, tedious process, but even a hole this big, I mean, this is a pretty good sized hole here. I will be able to fill that completely up, and it'll be solid. So let's get started. So the way you do this, you've got to be very patient. This is not something you can rush. So what you want to do, assuming you're not out in the middle of a panel somewhere where it's just flat, we have the advantage of having some corners here, and these corners are usually a little thicker and they've got some strength to them, okay? So instead of us starting the weld right here where we know it's thin, we want to start out where there's more strength. So I'm going to start here and actually work my way this way, because this is going to take heat better than it would if I started here. If I start out here, it's probably going to blow a bigger hole than I want. So, and just so you know, what I did is I came in here and I opened this up with a grinder, and I got back to the original depth sheet metal. So I got rid of all the rust. There's nothing left. This is full thickness metal, because if it's not, I'm just going to blow through it. So what we want to do is we're going to start there, and the way to do this is you're going to continuously weld on top of your weld, and you're going to just feather it back into the sheet metal. When this glows red, I will take the torch and just very slightly move it over back and forth like this, and I will just start to melt the new metal to the old metal very slowly. Don't be surprised if it opens up a little bit more. It just takes time. And what's very important is that you let it cool down as you're going. So what I'll do is I'll weld a little bit up. I'll actually cool it down with air or a wet rag, and then I'll continue on and continue on and continue on. It might take me 4 kind of sessions to get across there or whatever. So, all right, here we go. Okay, so I've got it started, but now I really need to let this cool down. It's actually starting to layer pretty good. It's very important that you keep your welds flat. What you don't want to do is start to rise up like this, because when we come in here and grind this, we don't want to grind it all off. So we want to kind of stack our welds going with the panel, with the same depth as the panel is. So that's cool down a little bit. We'll just keep going. This is a very slow process. You cannot hurry this. Well, you can see we're about halfway across now, just past the third or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool down, because the metal all around there, as you can see how blue it's got a lot of heat in here. So we'll cool this down. I'm actually going to grind this off a little bit just to see if I've got any thin areas, and then we'll go back to it. So if you look here, I've got this weld built up. So what I'm going to do is grind it back off, and like I said, I'll be able to see if there's any thin spots, but it looks pretty good. So you can kind of see here, and got it ground down. So when I did that, I did find a little spot there that I'll have to touch up, go back, but that's really good right there. So we'll just continue to build on that. One of the things you got to remember when you're doing this, first of all, my MIG welder is all the way down as low as it'll go. Every welder is different, but obviously you're welding very thin, in this case, partially rusty sheet metal, so you want to take as much heat away as you can. But something else to consider is MIG welding is very hard. The metal becomes very hard, so when you're grinding this back away, the welded metal is much harder than the original sheet metal, so you just want to be careful you don't start grinding on the sheet metal. You just want to grind your weld.
Oh wow. Close.
Okay, so we've got it pretty much welded shut. Obviously it's ugly right now. I will cool this down, because the reason I'm doing this is when I go in here and grind this, I'm going to put almost the same amount of heat in it as the welding did. So I want to start from cool sheet metal instead of already hot. It helps keep the metal from warping. So because this panel is angled this way, I need to come in from this side. There's a lot going on here as far as angles, so. Okay, so we've got it all welded up and ground down. Now, I'm not saying this is paint ready, but what we've got now is we've fixed a pretty good sized hole with actual metal. Instead, there's no filler here. I mean, I will skim filler over this just to get it smooth, so the finish of the car is nice. But now, I mean, there's no way you were going to fill that with body filler without making it just an absolute mess. But this is rock solid now, as good as the original sheet metal. How's it feel?
Pretty smooth. Solid.
Oh, it's solid, yeah. So this is something that if you're patient, and you've got a hole like this, I mean, I've done probably.
I mean, it only took 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If that.
That wasn't bad.
You just got to be. You have to be patient. Again, take as much heat away from your welder as possible. You can't TIG this. It has to be MIG welded. You can't TIG weld dirty metal. So you just keep MIGing it, and it's literally just spots at a time. Just spot, spot, spot. Let that red glow cool down before you hit it again, and just keep doing it. You kind of get in a little bit of rhythm. So we've done this side now, we've done this side now, and this was a big hole too, right here. I got to finish this one, but
You want to go over your welder settings real quick?
well, I mean, on every welder's a little bit different, but again, I've got mine all the way down as low as it'll go, taking as much heat away as possible. Feed rate, you want the feed rate, that's every, welders are so different, but your feed rate is more of a user setting, how fast you want the wire coming at you, but yeah, nothing special. I mean, so, but again, that's something, anybody can do this. Don't be intimidated by things like this. I mean, you look at a hole like that in a panel, you're like, how am I gonna fill this? You know, and people will just put fiberglass in there and they just make a mess, but you don't have to do that, so.
Well, wait until you see my cab corners on my truck.
Yeah, that's some serious welding there. So let's see how the tail light fits back in there. There you go.
Wow, good as new.
It's got a little honeycomb quarter. Tommy's making me go first.
I don't think I'll even participate. I think I'll just video. I'm cameraman tonight.
Hi, participate.
All right, so we'll do some MIG Welding 101, okay? So the way MIG welding works is you're basically trying to join two metals together, but you need a filler. So it's just like caulking around a window or something like that. You need to fill that gap. So this is the filler wire. And every time I pull the trigger, that advances, okay? So the idea is that your movement with the torch matches the speed of the wire. Okay, so so this is going to come out, and it's going to come out, and it's going to create an arc across the ground, and that's what's going to make it weld. So what we'll do first is we're just going to practice tack welding. So just to tack. So when you tack weld a 90-degree corner like this, what we're going to do is we're going to set this cup just like this. Now, by default, that filler wire is exactly centered on where those two meet, okay? So when I go like that, I just tack weld those together. Kind of. Because my heat was down. So that's what a good tack weld looks like. So take this, put that down. Usually use two hands to steady yourself.
Like you got it on here, or just
No, I'll do this. Like I will do this. I try to, otherwise you end up kind of doing this. So anytime you get your hand like down here, you gotta have gloves on. Look at you. This is what happens when you weld. So say I welded it there, see what it did. See, I pulled that up. As soon as this starts to cool, it will actually draw, it will shrink. So as soon as that tack weld started to cool, this actually rose up that high. That's why when you're welding something like this, you either have to clamp it down so it can't move, or you have to immediately go over here and weld the other side, or else it's going to tweak. That's why when you're doing a roll cage, you really got to be adamant about how you're doing your welding, because you can actually tweak the car.
Give me two right hand or two.
Oh. All right, so what you do is, yep, just sit in like that. Just squeeze the trigger for about 3 seconds.
Oh boy.
Don't push too hard. You really don't need to push that hard. Yep, there you go. Bam. Perfect, perfect, absolutely perfect. So just keep doing a series of tacks. Just keep, so tack, 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 and just keep moving this thing around.
Uh-oh. What'd I do?
Just squeeze the trigger again. So you weren't on there long, so look, see what you did?
Yeah.
You really only got it on the pipe, so your angle needs to be more to 45. Yep, just like that. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that is a nice tack weld.
That's not bad. You can do this.
Oh, I know I can. I just.
All right, so now what I want you to try to do, and I'm going to clamp this down for you. I want you to connect those two welds together. So what a lot of people will do is they will kind of simulate what they're going to do, okay? So for this weld, what I want you to do is I want you to actually see the melting metal as it's going into that corner. So I want you like down here, and don't be afraid. There's no hurry. Just get it going. You're going to watch it become molten, and it's going to become liquid metal. And you just take your time and just kind of walk it around like that. And when you get to that one, stop.
So all in one run.
People get in a hurry when they MIG weld. Now, if you're welding really thin metal like the car over there, but for what we're doing here, there's no hurry. Take your time, lay the weld down. There's a lot of feel to it.
I didn't get all the way, but
Hey, that's not bad.
kind of big.
Yeah.
I'm just like really slow.
Here's the reason it looks like that is because
Because I aim down.
you're aiming down. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's not bad. So,
I think the helmet's gonna take some getting used to.
oh yeah, welding takes some getting used to. So, here's what so let me do this around. Now this is easy because you got a gap. This will be real easy. If you do the same thing what you did there with this gap, you're basically going to fill that molten metal underneath there. But remember how I said you kind of walk it like this?
Yeah.
You can't do this. You can't push so hard that you're holding yourself up. This has to kind of free float like this. Now, if I welded this, I would never even touch this probably. I would just be floating right out. Just barely touching it, okay? But like when I tack weld, this is what I'll do. I'll do this, I'll rock. And you do this with TIG welding too.
Yeah, that happened to me a little bit too.
Yeah, well that's what happens. So when you're finishing up a weld, you kind of just pull away for a second and it'll stop welding.
So you don't just like shut it off.
You do both at the same time. Yeah, I think you'll like. All right, so go ahead and close that gap right there. So weld that in.
Do I just start further out since it's kind of far? Or...
Just shove it right in there.
Okay.
We got ourselves a welder.
That's not bad. You can. I like it.
Yeah.
I should.
That is really good. I mean, that is really good. So that is really good weld. I don't believe that.
You know what?
So the heat helped a lot. You see how it blended in the corner more? I didn't have it hot enough because that's really thick metal.
You know, you probably have a good hand since you used to do art stuff, and maybe, you know, I mean, you've had the experience doing brush strokes and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's.
I definitely want you to try it.
Yeah, I will.
So we got plenty of scrap, so you can finish up. And again, I'm going to purposely put this in your way. I want you to finish that little right there.
This one up?
Just do that little one right there. So you're moving out a little far. So you want to, the cup should not necessarily touch all the time, but this is why, like a lot of MIG weld, you'll weld like this. So if you have the ability to weld like this instead of like this, you do it. Because I'll finish this up and watch what it looks like. And I'll show you what this angle does. But you don't always have this option. So I'm going to come in like this on a really shallow angle, and I'm going to walk my way around. I'm just going to do a little bit. See that? So if your motion, your speed, I mean, if your speed is consistent, then your weld is going to look consistent. You know, you're not going to gob up. So that's the reason you see how it's kind of has a smooth look to it. It just takes feel. All right, finish that. Got a little spot right there to fill in. So I would start there and just kind of work my way back to that weld. Got ourselves a weld.
We'll start here or here?
Yeah, the right side. Holy.
So right here, I can feel myself coming out a little too far.
Oh my God, that is a perfect weld. It looks phenomenal. I don't know that I could get better than that. I couldn't do that. Look at that weld.
I don't want to try because she's gonna blow me out of the
That's
park.
not true. You're gonna do just fine.
That is gorgeous. So look, when you started out, so this is where you started, and look where you ended up, and just one piece of pipe. It's fun, isn't it?
It actually is. I wouldn't mind doing this more.
I call it metal caulking.
Do you have any more of these practice?
Yeah, this is my TIG welding practice piece of stainless there, but yeah, we have all you can. All right, you ready?
I know I could do it. Like, there's not much to it. I feel like mine's not going to look as good, and we're very competitive, so.
So let the chips fall where they do.
Oh gosh.
All right.
Okay, well. Mom.
Look.
Oh, quit it. You look beautiful. Come look at what I did.
First try.
And then kind of ended with over there. Nice sword. Are you gonna weld? Not tonight.
Okay.
Oh, Tommy's
There's a lot
up.
of pressure on me because she's done such a good job.
I'll make it easy. I'll put it out there.
Oh, I have fun.
I look like Mickey Mouse.
Actually, you look like Goofy.
Goofy? Goofy? I don't even know how to put this on. Oh, it's green.
All right. So remember, first thing you want to do is get a little tack weld on there so it's not moving around. So what I suggest you do is put that in the corner, blast it for 3 seconds, and then stop. And what that'll do is that it's going to tie these two together. So you're already. Don't push the pipe. So, but I think
nervous.
If you spent like 5 minutes getting this in the right spot, you don't want to do that. So,
Right. No. Yeah.
So here's what I do. Here's my hint. So let's say this has to be very precisely placed. What you want to do is sneak up like this. Okay. Get to a point and just stop, and then just nail it. Don't start touching this. Start touching your whatever's not going to move. Kind of sneak up on it. Get close, and then there you go, right there.
A little bubbly.
So you're just no. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. You got it.
Let me do the other side. Oh God. It is very hard to see.
But I just had to find like the angle that worked for me.
Oh, I know what happened. It tripped the breaker on there.
See, this is what happens when I start touching it. It starts breaking.
I shouldn't be welding through this.
What are you doing?
Plugging it to stop.
What are you doing?
Trying to get to work. Your wife is out of control.
Yeah, what's new? Hey, that sounded
looks good.
Hey,
That looks
is
really good.
Nice. Wow.
I don't like the speed. It's too fast.
Really?
Turn down to about 55-ish. It kind of mimics what a TIG weld does. It's too much heat for this kind of. So to do this, really should be on 2, because what I'm trying to do is kind of what's called stacking dimes. So you see how that. It's pretty uniform around there, but you see this. You can count every single weld I did. That's a really good way to weld. It's very controlled, because what happens is, because this torch is, it's on the end of this thing and it's trying to move around. When you're doing this, unless you have a really very steady hand or you drag the cup, if you're not dragging the cup around on something, you're doing this. I mean, you don't even know you're doing it, but you are. But when you do this, I'm actually have the cup resting on there, and I'm just going. You just keep moving your way around. That's what it'll end up looking like right there. Ridiculous.
Oh, that one wasn't bad.
Very nice.
Oh God, I got stuck.
That sounded good.
Well, I got stuck in between these.
Did you? So I remember what I was talking about. So sometimes that technique of basically just putting a series of tack welds around there, that's where that sometimes can really work in your advantage.
I think you definitely did better than me.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not up until that last part. I struggled.
Well, like I told you guys, that welding is like golf. That you'll tee off and think you're a hero, and then the next one you'll put it 80 yards into the woods. And welding is that way for a while until you really do it a lot. I mean, you'll lay down a nice, pretty weld, and you'll think, "Yeah, I got this." And the next one looks like popcorn on the chalkboard. So
Yeah, that's
It is
kind of
what
how
it
I felt.
no, you guys
I was always too nervous to pick it up and try, but
gotta try.
I was kind of peer pressured in. But I'm glad I was. That's sometimes what you need. Just man up.
Yeah.
No, it was
Really.
good.
I liked it. I'd like to practice more.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our little tutorial here on how to fill little rust pinholes. I think people get a kick out of that.
Yeah,
It's
and
more
I
than a
hope you.
pinhole.
Way more than a pinhole. But
Yeah.
it started out as a pinhole, and then he was like, you know what? He broke it so he could fix it. That's what he does around here.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
He breaks things just to fix them.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed our first time welding too.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll probably bring back some memories for a lot
Some
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's next?
Well, I got some wiring pieces on the way, we have some really, really bad weather coming this week.
Yeah, ice storm.
I mean, really bad, and you folks north of us are going to be even worse. So, good luck to everybody. Stay safe, but well, it's not supposed to be too cold, so we'll be out here tinkering around, doing a little that, a little this and a little that. I really need to get these rear tubes notched and set in place, but we've got one patch in the trunk to do.
Oh yeah, we never made that little.
We were supposed to do that. We got
That's
a
all
little
right.
distracted.
We got the back seat. So one of the things I wanted to make sure the back seat was still in the car. I think it looks cool in there, and it doesn't weigh anything. It's so lightweight. So I got it fitted back in the car, and I wanted to make sure it fits with the roll bar in there. So that's good. But we got plenty to do. So.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the next video. We'll figure some things out. He said he has some wiring stuff coming in, but we're trying to keep the videos interesting. But you know, it's getting to the nitty gritty stuff that maybe isn't the most interesting stuff, but it's got to be done.
I like to do more tutorial type stuff for people though, because
Yeah.
you're very good at explaining things. And I saw a
Yes.
couple comments saying like, can you please share as much information as possible about wiring? I'm about to wire my car and I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, for sure. When we get into the wiring, start doing, I mean, I'll break down the car into like segments. So, you have like the dash area, which is so involved with wiring. You got under the hood with, if you run an alternator, and you got your distributor, and you got the headlights and running lights, and of course the back of the car, we've got electric fuel pump, we've got tail lights, we got the battery back there. So when you I know a lot of people are intimidated by wiring a car, but when you break it down like that, I mean, the first thing I do is you make a list of the things that you want to power. I mean, you can't wire what you don't know that you need to wire. So I make a list, and then I sit down and I think about where those are going to be physically in the car, and how much amp draw each piece has, which determines the wire size, and kind of go from there, and what relays I'm going to need. So we'll go through all that stuff as we start to get into it. So
My dad saw the part in the last video, his little wiring mishap,
Hey.
and he forgot to fix it. He wouldn't have left it like that, but it was a
No.
quick fix.
No.
He thought it was hilarious. He was dying laughing.
He gave me one job, not to let Jeff see it.
Oh,
And I
that
gave
was
him away at the
that
end
was a
because it just caught
long
me off
time.
guard.
That was like August or something.
Billy said
yeah.
he
That
did
was
something like that
Marion.
too under the steering column, but I don't think we found that.
Oh, you gotta do what you gotta do when you're.
Okay.
No,
Well, I mean, it was
I would've
nighttime.
I would have done the same thing. No doubt, I would have done the same thing in the same circumstance. So.
Yeah, it's just funny.
It was really funny. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys in the next video.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.